available.
Proven coach. He's still getting paid by Southern, so the money is not an issue. So, it possibly could be Jenkins going to move into the head spot and Eric Dooley going to move to the coordinator spot.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I hate that for Coach. I hate it for the kids at Edward Waters. Looks like Coach Morgan is going to land on his feet. It looks like possibly Brian Jenkins is getting the opportunity otherwise he wouldn't get if it wasn't for Coach Morgan stepping down. But I hope the kids are treated well in this transition and they get the opportunity they always wanted and the opportunity they dreamed for. We all know them coming from NAIA, moving up to Division II, they're in a really tough conference right now. With the emergence of Clark Atlanta, improve our product, continue to highlight HBCUs, and do what we do, and hopefully in the future we'll get an opportunity to be a SWAC Media Day.
We did get credentials from other conferences. Can you
yes.
kind of get those conferences a shout out?
Yeah, yeah. We were able to go to SWAC Media Day, man. I mean, not SWAC, Big 12 Media Day. We had a great time there. Was able to talk to Deion Sanders, AD, Rick George, a guy who really we weren't on his schedule or anything like that. I just basically, while on live air, waved to him, gave him a shout out, and the man said, "I'll be back in 15 minutes, and you'll have it." And we were able to sit down and have an interview with him and talk about what he like
you said. Unfortunately, next year maybe or whatever we need to do, we'll damn work it with the conference and see. I would love to come and be a part of the conference I played for.
Hey, Coach, and that's another thing, Coach. One thing about it, you are SWAC, Coach. You played, you were a player, you were a coach, and you are SWAC. And me being a media person that I hadn't always covered the SWAC, I mean, they can decline me, but Coach, I believe you and specifically Mr. Campbell deserve to be at SWAC Media Day. You guys, the time and effort that you guys have invested in the SWAC, and in particularly FAMU and Texas Southern, I think you guys deserve to be there. And I know you were kind of taken aback, Mr. Campbell.
So, Coach, two things I want you to do. Tell the people where you played at, what position you played. And then tell the people where you coached at the SWAC and what you did to SWAC. Just to remind folks a little bit.
Yeah, well, I played at Texas Southern University, where I still own the record in football. I played quarterback as well as I played point guard. I just wasn't on the bench. And I threw 6 touchdowns in 2 games in my career at Texas Southern, which is still a record over there, and broke all the career records, seasonal records. I went on to start coaching, and my first offensive coordinator job was at a school at Southwestern College up in Winfield, Kansas, in the KCAC, where we broke every conference seasonal record. I was there just for 1 year. I had a kid named Derek Singleton. He threw 29 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and he's in the Hall of Fame out there. And I was able to go to Southern, a kick to go off in 98, 99, won back-to-back championships. We held a lot of records down there, broke a lot of Tennessee State records. Then was able to move to Alabama State as the offensive coordinator. Took a kid named Darnell Kennedy, and he finished number 6 in all the NCAA passing. He started as a freshman before I got there, and when I got there, we won the East Championship back-to-back. We averaged about 34, 35 points a game. At Tennessee State, we averaged 38.9 and 39.1 as an offense matriculated. Was able to leave there and went to Lane College, and they hadn't had a winning season, and I put together back-to-back winning seasons and 6 and 7, Of course, everybody knows Jacoby Jones. He was a player of the year. So I know about all that leaving coming right before the season. Been there, done that. Fortunately, I got the job at Lane. I mean, Jacoby Jones and my group, man, they turned it out. Of course, we broke most of Lane's offensive records there and seasonal, you know, because my thing has been seasonal instead of career because we had those outstanding. And we averaged about 32, 33 points a game there. Going to Texas Southern.
Coach, you be leaving stuff out, Coach. You were Coach of the Year in the SIAC.
Yes, sir. I was the first and only coach in the SIAC to win Coach of the Year without winning the conference. The coaches got together and they voted me in and said, man, you deserve this. Taking a school like Lane, who hadn't won in over 10 years. Same thing with Alabama State, hadn't won in 10. Same thing to get jobs and be productive. I think that's more of a champion with me than all the success. I've had some great assistant coaches. They went on. The O-line coach at Alabama, the Tide, coached under me. I gave him his first job. The head coach at Prairie View gave him his first job. Defensive back coach now at the New Orleans Saints kept him a part of what's going on. Coach Freeman, head coach at Morehouse, he's the head coach. Coach Toriano Morgan, head coach at Edward Waters, played under me. Fred Keiss for the DC Washington team, he coached under me. You know, the head coach now, Coach Harris, actually played in my system. So it's been a lot of Coach Perkins down in Florida International. It's just been, my
every top coach in both conferences, and well, all four conferences, let's say that, HBCU conference, not counting pros on this show. Right. They ain't been on nobody else's show because you know why? They don't know them. Right. They're not going to go on their show because they don't know them.
I had the pleasure of beating Coach Comegy, Rod Broadway, Pete Richardson, all the top coaches, I faced them. And either if I was a coordinator, I put up big points. And when I was a head coach, I beat them all. The thing people want to say is always NCAA, the same rule that they don't disband about now you can sign up to 105 kids is the same rule they say they got me on because I signed over my initials. But if anybody knows anything about the NCAA, it's a coach can only offer a scholarship. This is what we stuck with. We stuck with these 40 football programs that we got to try to control and hold on to.
Hey, caller, you have a echo in the background. So first, mute whatever you listen to or walk away from it before you come on. But the last 45240, you're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
Okay, N.O. Joe, man.
What's up, N.O.?
I don't know about I don't look up Coach Cole Hirschman. And BJ Jones said it himself on your show. If they wouldn't have got Coach Cole out of Texas Southern, he would have ran the swag. That's what BJ Jones said. If they wouldn't have got Coach Cole out of Southern, so I don't know all the people talking about who Coach Cole don't know, man. Coach Cole, I done read the bio. I know all about you. And you a bad man. That's all I want to say.
To support these HBCU games. So I appreciate all that.
Well, Coach, I you know what I think, Coach. I think you don't get your flowers enough in this space. Anybody who questions your knowledge, your depth of knowledge, your depth of SWAC history, what you've accomplished in this sport, they're foolish. They just foolish. And I think sometimes, and I'll even say this, and Mr. Campbell can add some context to this. We've had a lot of people come in this space, and they don't have a pure understanding of what the SWAC is all about as it relates to the history of the SWAC and what was done before they arrived in the SWAC. Like, that's sometimes I think what people miss, and that's one of the things that I appreciate with you, Coach.
Now, one of the things too that he mentioned, and it was so funny, Scott, and people know I talk to him every day, and I talked about this, and I said one of the things that will be great about this is that, and for all, again, one of the greatest games in SWAC, and we had him on the show. That's why I'm setting this up. Willie Totten, one of the greatest games in SWAC history was Alcorn versus Valley. For a lot of people, that was the game of all games in SWAC, as far as the level of intensity and the players that play. You're going to be able to see that game now. Because what did the commissioner say? That game, that's one of the games that we're going to make sure we highlight feature. So one of the things to Coach Cole's point is that I got to listen. I have given the commissioner a little bit of grief, but he's my homeboy. But this is one of the biggest things that he has done that I think is going to really allow the SWAC to go. And I also think, to his point, if I understand what he's going to do, the way to monetize it, this is very important because as somebody who has an app and understands this, when you are in somebody's phone, you know how to sell to them and you know how to market them. Because again, you can send them messages, you can talk to, especially when you accept.
Being 5 years ago, it has everything to do about what the people within the culture thought about the product that they had or the experiences they had.
Well, look, I've spoke on this at nauseam, and I don't say this. And for anybody that says, well, I think one of the greatest things that ever happened was Deion going to Jackson State. I think that was a marriage made in heaven. Deion's personality, that big stadium, the history, 50,000 black folks in the stadium, that's a great visual. And what I loved about it, somebody, because, and Coach and I talked about this, there was a down period for 10 years where people just didn't care about HBCU football, especially the SWAC. And all you heard about was the bands. I'm going to see the band, and then people would leave, and you didn't even know who was playing. But Deion made football important. And somebody, hey, listen, I love the Marching 100, but that was the first time in 10 years where I saw, now this is Florida A&M, a football heritage school, a pedigree school, and it got back to football. And I've always told people this.
The same pushback within the culture that Deion was giving when you brought that thing, whatever that is, that you and Deion share?
Well, I mean, it's no question. We had a lot of similarities, of talking to guys that I actually know personally on the staff. And, we have some of the similarities of what we think is important. If you look good, you play good, you get paid good. This is the uniform that we're gonna wear. You're gonna cut your hair. I know my man Bishop was like, I don't know about them braids, and now all that's going, and everybody gonna have their stuff on their, pants. And back in the day, I went and bought all the kids polos. You know what I mean? Back in the day, I went and bought all people what I could afford. I remember going into the big sports. I ain't steal no money, and I am a guy that when I come into that building, Campbell and Rock, y'all know I'm gonna be sharp. I'm a represent. I'm always, and I just kind of felt that way. That I am gonna be the example. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be the except. I'm gonna be the example, not the exception. I'm gonna be the example.
And one similarity, you correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. You were okay with all the eyes being on you and receiving that attention. You were very comfortable in the spotlight, so to speak.
Yeah. And, and then it's important, just like Deion would invite all his pro friends and his celebrities. See, me, I would invite all the alumni back. I would make sure if I seen a guy I played with or a guy outside the fence, I don't care if the game, I'm like, hey, let him in. He needs to come on in, because.
And what a real nice, pleasant, generous man you are. That's the truth of the matter. I don't think your persona, much like Deion, gives that off. I think Deion is often, I'm not gonna use the word hated, but he's kind of heavily critiqued from the outside in. But anybody who personally knows him, and I know Campbell knows a lot of people who personally know Deion, anybody who ever sat in the same room with Deion seemed to love him to death and would do anything for him. But people on the outside don't get that same impression. I don't know why that's the case, but Mr. Campbell, do you have any input on that? You're muted, seem like.
I think that happens all the time. We think we know people because we see them on TV, and we don't. We think we know, especially in this because we see them on social media. So again, you can't talk about me if you don't know me, or you can talk about what I said on a podcast. So I think we make a lot of mistakes that we assume that we know people when we really don't. So that's what
Hey, Coach, did you feel misunderstood as a coach and even as a former coach? Do you feel misunderstood about whether people may think you one way, but you're really just a really good guy?
I'm best at who I am. You know what I mean? And I know maybe sometimes I rub somebody the wrong way, but it's in good intention, and it's about winning. You know what I'm saying? It's about doing what you need to do to win football games. I'm not removed from making mistakes, but it just seems like I had a great career, and I don't have no shame on nobody, and I just look forward to don't count me out, man. As long as the good Lord up there, I got good health. As long as it's good, hey, you never know, man. You might see me on one of those sidelines one day again.
Hey, Coach, you never know. Hey, Coach, there's a couple things I want to go over, and I'll let you guys know. I want to talk about this one thing that Dr. McClellan said. He said the SWAC schools owe $30 million over the next 10 years to the house settlement. I was just wondering, did either one of you guys hear that? And does that number sounds staggering to me.
30 million in the next how many years?
10 years. So
they took the deal then.
Yeah, they signed into the deal. But again, I think we kind of talked about this. Now, when he said the SWAC, that wasn't each individual school, was it?
No, he also said this. Even paying the house settlement, some of the schools received more money this year than they did last year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right, based off of what the deal that
the revenues that were brought in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the more accurate thing, and I think we can do a show on this. I will really, and again, because I can talk to certain people that would know the answer to this. I think there is going to be some school. Because I think and what I saw was, and again, I hate to do it because we always have to do it, UAPB or Valley, because of the revenue that they don't bring in, based off of not being on TV as much as a FAMU in Jackson State, because we also get paid, from my understanding, for being on TV more, right? So that happens also. So I think those are the ones that they were really worried about, as far as their contribution of them not winning championships, them not having their own individual deals. But that's one of those things that I would like to just really do an in-depth, and maybe we could do a show about that as we get ready to come.
Now, he did mention, now this is the first time I had heard this term used as it pertains to
FBS does. FBS now has to set aside X amount of money to pay all their students for playing football, basketball, whatever revenue generating sports, and then it cascades down.
They have to set aside some of their, moving forward, they have to set aside some of their TV money according to the house settlement.
Right. Well, that's how they're going to offset it. Absolutely. But then because they're going to use the TV money to pay for it. But my point of it is that FCS, that's the one provision. We do not have to do that. The reason why we opted in was the reason to expand to get the 105 scholarships up to the 105 scholarships.
That's
now, Coach, let's talk about, me and you had a phone call about this. Explain to them how actually a coach is going to work the 105 scholarships and why that's so important.
Well, they basically coming from 63 full scholarships or whatever the school can give them. And so if I got 63 full scholarships, I can
something like that. If correct me if I'm wrong. If I heard that incorrectly,
that's you guys exactly correct. I mean, if you got a good football player that's an academic guy as well as a Pell Grant guy. What's a Pell Grant guy? A Pell Grant guy is a guy that they look at how much his family can give to him. You know what I mean? So then, let's say a scholarship was $20 and he was a full Pell Grant guy, which he was going to get $5,000. And then he got $5,000 from his academic money, which is $10,000. Then that full scholarship that was worth $20,000, now he can only the coach could take 10 and give it to that kid and then use that 10 to go get somebody else. Or it could be 5, or it could be 2, or it could be 1,000. You know what I'm saying? Because a kid also could take a loan out as well. to either put that money in his pocket, formula when it just comes to the money, but the coaches should be able to evaluate a kid and determine how valuable he is to his program. A coach should be able to see a kid. I mean, you can always, when you've been around the game, you could go out and see a kid if he got fat ankles, if he's real tall, but he got narrow shoulders, how much weight he gonna be able to put on. If he got tight hips, if he can bend, is he slew-footed? You know what I mean? You've seen these kids over and over again and develop, and you can have some type of ideal of how a kid can look from the time you recruiting to the time that he matriculates and start hitting the field and moving on. Your weight program is important as well. So I think if you got that extra money,
we don't have to go into great detail. We're going to break all this down. But is there anything about this predicted finish that surprises you in the East Division?
Well, I think the Alabama State Florida A&M should be flopped. I think with I gotta stay with Andrew Body. He wealthy and Florida A&M is actually going in with a new coach. I mean a new quarterback. I like Sam Shade right there, and it would surprise me if he did something special. And I think that's the only thing I'm looking at is Alabama State and Florida A&M.
What about you, Mr. Campbell?
You might need to put them side by side. You know what I mean? Jackson State, Florida A&M / Alabama State. Andrew Body is coming back, and then they got a transfer from Georgia Tech. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, the only thing that there's several things I'd like that I hope finishes different, and I'll mention one. I hope Alabama State wins, but if I had to pick, I'm definitely picking Jackson State. But I hope T-Buck finishes fourth in this in the East. I really would like him to finish fourth in the East. I think he could pick off Bethune-Cookman for sure, and I hope he can figure out a way to get to fourth, because I'm really rooting for the guy, to be honest with you.
Man, listen, if T-Buck get them boys to fourth, first of all, let me see, this is what
and me personally, I'll go first on this one. I think they put all these jokers in a bag and just start pulling them out. I don't know how they came up with this. And literally by the vote, Southern is the unanimous selection. So Coach, and I may have mentioned this to you. No, I mentioned this to Scotty when I was talking to Scotty. Are they trying to set Terrence Graves up here?
Wow.
What are they doing? With those kind of, the Southern fan base is gonna feed into this. The Southern fan base is gonna expect this finish. Will Terrence Graves be able to deliver? That's my question.
Coach, you want to go first or you want me to go?
Well, I can't say anything.
Y'all say you got a quarterback, and last I checked, it's the same guy that was last year. We'll see. So again, but I want to know who Southern's quarterback's going to be. Is this going to be the freshman from last year? The kid from Georgia? Is that your quarterback? Southern guys tell me that, because I haven't broke down the roster yet, because I was going to look when they made him official. Alcorn second? Really? So, Rocky, I'm like you. I think they just pulled him out, and Southern came out first, and then everybody just fell behind. Because I'm going to be honest with you. If you move Southern out, you literally between, and I'm going to even put Grambling in there. Grambling, Alcorn, you could flip those, and nobody would be mad at it.
So Southern, if I'm correct, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, they barely beat Alcorn.
TSU.
Barely beat TSU.
Grambling.
Barely beat Grambling.
We said Texas Southern.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.